In a world filled with notifications, deadlines, and a constant barrage of noise, does your mind ever feel like it's playing defense? It's a battle against anxiety, against that feeling of being pulled in 1,000 directions, of never quite being where you are. We're told to hustle harder and achieve more. Yet for so many of us, the prize isn't peace, but a constant low-grade hum of dissatisfaction. What if the answer wasn't some new app or productivity hack? What if the solution was ancient, tested not for a few years, but for millennia? Two of history's most powerful philosophies promised an escape. They popped up thousands of years ago from totally different corners of the world, yet they speak directly to the stress of our modern lives. One teaches you to build an unshakable fortress inside your mind, to stand strong and rational against the chaos. The other teaches you to see that the prison walls were an illusion all along. This is the ultimate showdown for a quiet mind, Stoic detachment versus Buddhist non-attachment. Are they two sides of the same coin, or are they fundamentally different paths? By the end of this, you'll have a much clearer idea of which of these timeless approaches to inner peace might be the right one for you. Before we put them head-to-head, let's get to know our two contenders for the crown of inner peace. First up, from the bustling markets of ancient Greece, we have Stoicism. It was born around 300 BCE from a man named Zeno of Citadel. After losing everything in a shipwreck, he washed up in Athens and started teaching philosophy from a public porch, the Stoic, which is where the name Stoicism comes from. This wasn't a philosophy cooked up in an ivory tower. It was forged in the fires of real life. Its most famous champions weren't just thinkers, they were doers. We're talking about people like Seneca, a powerhouse statesman in Rome, Epictetus, a man born into slavery who became one of history's most influential teachers, and Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who jotted down his private thoughts, what we now call meditations, while running the massive and chaotic Roman Empire. The core promise of Stoicism isn't happiness in the fleeting sense of pleasure or a good mood. It's something deeper, more durable, eudaimonia. This Greek word is best translated as flourishing or living a good life. For Stoics, you get there through virtue and living in sync with nature, which to them meant living by reason. The Stoic path is all about building an inner fortress of logic and self-control, making you bulletproof to the unpredictable storms of the outside world. It's a philosophy of resilience, duty, and radical self-responsibility. Now let's head east to ancient India, somewhere between the 6th and 4th centuries BCE. Here we meet our second contender, Buddhism, which began with a prince named Siddhartha Gautama. Sheltered from every kind of suffering, Siddhartha eventually left his palace and was smacked in the face by the reality of sickness, old age, and death. This shock sent him on a quest to find the end of suffering. After years of intense spiritual searching, he sat under a Bodhi tree and, through deep meditation, reached enlightenment. He became the Buddha, which simply means the awakened one. The foundation of Buddhism is the Four Noble Truths. First, life inevitably has suffering, or dukkha. This isn't just ouch that hurts pain. It's a deep-seated dissatisfaction with the temporary nature of everything. Second, the root of this suffering is our attachment and craving, our desperate clinging to things we want and pushing away things we don't. Third, there's a way to end this suffering. And fourth, that way is the Noble Eightfold Path, a practical guide to living ethically, training your mind, and gaining wisdom. The ultimate goal in Buddhism is nirvana, a state of total liberation where the fires of greed, hatred, and ignorance are blown out, and all suffering ends. So, we have our two philosophies. Stoicism, a rational fortress for the mind, and Buddhism, a path to wake up and escape the mind's own traps. Both promise inner peace, but how they get you there couldn't be more different. Alright, let's bring them to the center of the ring for a thematic face-off. How do these two giants tackle the biggest questions of our lives? Round 1. The nature of the self. This might be the single biggest difference between them. How you see yourself changes everything. For the Stoics, you are a rational agent. You're a conscious, reasoning being, and your mind is your superpower. Marcus Aurelius talked about the inner citadel, a fortress in your mind that nothing outside can ever touch. This self is separate from the world. There's a clear me and not me. Your job, as a Stoic, is to be the unshakable captain of your own ship, steering through life's chaos with logic and grace. The Stoic self is something to be fortified, disciplined, and made stronger. It's a powerhouse of will, capable of making sound judgments and owning its inner world, no matter what happens outside. Buddhism, however, drops a bombshell concept, anatta or no self. From the Buddhist viewpoint, the solid, permanent self we think we are, that little narrator in our head, is an illusion. What we call a self is really just a temporary mashup of constantly changing parts. Our body, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness. It's more like a process than a permanent thing. There's no captain of the ship. There's just the ship itself, always in flux. The goal isn't to build a stronger fortress for the self, but to see through the illusion of the self entirely. Realizing this is a key to freedom, because if there's no fixed self, there's nothing for insults, praise, or bad luck to permanently stick to. So the Stoic says, strengthen yourself. The Buddhist says, realize you don't have a fixed self to begin with. Round 2. The root of our problems. Both philosophies agree our suffering is an inside job, but they point to different culprits. For the Stoics, the real problem is our judgments. The philosopher Epictetus hit the nail on the head. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. It's not getting fired that makes you suffer. It's your judgment that getting fired is a disaster. It's not the traffic jam that makes you rage. It's your judgment that you shouldn't be in a traffic jam. Stoicism says our emotional pain comes from a failure of logic. We wrongly label neutral, external events as good or bad. The problem isn't the world, it's our skewed perception of it. Buddhism points to a different source, detachment or Tanha, which means thirst or craving. The second noble truth says suffering comes from clinging to things that are, by nature, temporary. We suffer because we want pleasant feelings to last forever and unpleasant ones to go away immediately, in a world where everything is constantly changing. We get attached to our stuff, our status, our relationships, and even our own opinions. This endless cycle of grasping and rejecting is what creates all the friction and pain. For a Buddhist, the problem isn't just a single bad judgment. It's the fundamental engine of desire itself. So, the Stoic sees the problem as a rational thought. The Buddhist sees it as insatiable desire. Round 3. The ultimate goal. Where are these two paths ultimately trying to take us? The Stoic goal is eudaimonia, a flourishing life. You get there by living a life of virtue, which means aligning with reason and nature. The 4 big Stoic virtues are wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. The Stoic aims to be a good, functional, and tough human being who contributes to society. Their brand of peace, called apatheia, isn't about being a robot. It's a state of equanimity, free from the grip of destructive emotions. The goal is to thrive in the world, to be a good citizen, a good parent, a reliable friend, and the master of your own mind, no matter what life throws at you. The Buddhist goal is nirvana, liberation. This isn't just peace, but the complete end of suffering and the extinguishing of the self as a separate thing. It's breaking the cycle of craving and aversion that keeps us trapped. If Stoicism is about learning to expertly sail the stormy ocean of life, Buddhism is about realizing you are the ocean. The goal isn't just to thrive within the world of suffering, samsara, but to be liberated from it completely. This freedom is tied to a deep sense of compassion, because when the illusion of a separate self dissolves, the suffering of others feels like your own. So, Stoicism is aiming for a resilient, virtuous life in this world. Buddhism is aiming for total freedom from the cycle of suffering that defines this world. Philosophy is pretty useless if it just stays in a book. The real magic of Stoicism and Buddhism is in their practical, daily exercises. So let's open up the toolkit and see what we can start using right now. First, the Stoic toolkit, which emphasizes on forging an inner citadel. Think of Stoic practices as mental weightlifting, designed to build psychological muscle. First up, the cornerstone of Stoic practice, the Dichotomy of Control. This is a simple but life-changing idea from Epictetus. He said the most important job in life is to separate what's in our control from what isn't. So, what's in our control? Our thoughts, judgments, and actions, basically our inner world. What's not? Almost everything else. What people think of us, the economy, our health, our reputation, and that guy who just cut you off in traffic. The Stoics argued that almost all our anxiety comes from trying to control things we can't, while ignoring the one area where we have total power. By focusing your energy exclusively on your own actions and mindset, you reclaim your power and find an incredible sense of peace. Second, we have a practice that sounds dark but is actually a powerful tool for gratitude, negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. The Roman Stoic Seneca suggested we should regularly imagine losing the things we value most: our job, our home, our health, even our loved ones. The point isn't to be morbid. It's to do 2 things. First, it makes you wildly appreciative of what you have right now. By briefly losing it in your mind, you stop taking the good things for granted. Third, it mentally prepares you for real hardship. Life is unpredictable, and loss is a part of it. By rehearsing it in your mind, you build psychological armor. If the worst happens, it won't be such a shock. You've already mentally visited that territory, and you can handle it. Then comes the Buddhist toolkit, which emphasizes on dissolving the mind's walls. Buddhist practices are less about building a fortress and more about developing a clear, calm, and compassionate awareness. The core practice here is mindfulness of breath, anapanasati. It's incredibly simple. You just sit and pay attention to the physical sensation of your breath, air in, air out. You don't try to change it, just observe it. Your mind will wander. That's a guarantee. The practice isn't to get mad at yourself. It's to gently notice your mind has drifted and, without judgment, guide it back to the breath. Every time you do this, it's like a bicep curl for your attention. More importantly, it teaches you to watch your thoughts and feelings from a distance. You learn that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness of your thoughts. This creates a gap between a trigger and your reaction, letting you respond to life with clarity instead of being hijacked by your emotions. A second key practice is loving-kindness meditation, or metta. This practice is a direct antidote to anger, resentment, and loneliness. You silently repeat phrases of goodwill, directing them at different people. You start with yourself. May I be happy? May I be healthy? May I be safe? Then you extend that goodwill outward, to a loved one, a neutral person, and finally to someone you find difficult. This isn't about faking a feeling. It's about planting seeds of kindness. Over time, it can rewire your brain's default response from judgment to compassion. It helps you see the shared humanity in everyone, that we all just want to be happy and free from suffering. So, who wins this epic face-off? Stoicism or Buddhism? The truth is, this was never a fight. It's a showcase. The real question isn't which is better, but which is better for you right now. The smartest approach might be to not choose at all. You don't have to join a camp and reject the other. The real wisdom might be in creating your own personal, integrated path. Think of it this way. Use Stoicism for the things you have to do, and Buddhism for the way you have to be. When you're facing a tough project, difficult conversation, or public speaking, pull out the Stoic toolkit. Apply the dichotomy of control. Build your resilience, take responsibility, and act with courage. But when you're sitting with difficult emotions like grief or anger, use the Buddhist toolkit. Instead of trying to reason them away, just observe them with mindful awareness. Cultivate non-attachment to outcomes and compassion for yourself and others. Stoicism gives you the armor to navigate the battlefield of life. Buddhism gives you the wisdom to realize the war is mostly in your own mind. One helps you build a resilient self. The other helps you transcend the self. Together, they offer a powerful, balanced approach to finding peace in the modern world. The path to inner peace is your own. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. Both these philosophies offer incredible tools, and now it's your turn to think about it. Which path resonates more with you? Let us know in the comments. Type Stoic if you're drawn to the idea of the unshakable inner citadel and rational self-control. Type Buddhist if you feel a pull toward mindfulness, non-attachment, and letting go. We'd love to hear why that path speaks to you. Your insights make this whole conversation richer, so thanks for watching and thanks for sharing.